I would like to give the panel just the final say before we wrap it up. But Judy, I know you've been dying to say something, so if you can make a statement as opposed to a question, I'm going to wrap it up.
Just commenting on, this is the Pacific, the Bilingual Lea Pacific Coalition is a community-driven initiative.
Yes. And
it's come from parents and from the community. As a mother and a grandmother, I'm speaking as a mother and a grandmother. And I feel passionate about this issue because, as one of them said, it's to pass on this knowledge. So why are we, researching Indigenous knowledge when we have it? We've got it. We don't want to give it away. We know the value of it. We want to pass it on to our children. And now it's time for the government to come to the table, come to the play, and support it, fund it, not cut the goals from the Pacific Education Plan on bilingualism, cultures, and languages. That you can compare the two plans, 2008, 2012, 2012 to 2009 to 2012. If you go online, look at those plans, please. Let's be informed about these things. And those have been cut. We heard tonight that the ministry values these. Now, why did they cut them? Why did they drop them from the plan? That's my question. And also,
thanks,
that
Judy.
we need to all work together.
I know.
And in the Palangi world, if you don't have an act to enable that these rights are being addressed, it's just going to be cut, and we don't have any feet to walk.
Thank you. Thank you. We do value your question, your statement. Thank you. So we've got to wrap this up. So I'd like to give each of the panellists their chance to succinctly put it in terms of where to from here, what needs to happen, or what you see as the kind of progress or future of what we need to do about the preservation of our languages and also being the champion of our languages. And we'll start with John first on this time. We're going to go around this way.
Okay, well, I just want to say that as a researcher, I remain concerned that the research, that the best evidence, the best practice about maintaining the languages, about reviving the languages, about making the children academically successful has been commissioned by government. They've spent a lot of money on it. They actually know what the answers are. There's a huge international body of research covering 30 years behind that. And I just think it's very strange that in the field of education and language, and Pacifica education in particular, we seem unwilling to actually look at what the evidence says, that it needs to be evidence-based. And if there is evidence for all the current programs that we're running, then, and the success of them, then, you know, as researchers, we'd really like to see that evidence. But the government knows the answers, and I find it very strange that they're continually playing games over it.
Thank you, John. Carmel?
I'd like to say, I mean, in 50 years' time, we know that over 50% of the population is going to be Māori and Pacific. We know that our country, the economy is going to be reliant on that workforce. We know that the social well-being of this country will be reliant on our people doing well. So whatever it takes in terms of the investment that needs to be made to ensure that we do have successful young Pacific people going forward, we as a country, our government needs to make sure that that happens. We also know that there are Pacific languages that are endangered and we can't let them die. We have a responsibility here in New Zealand to make sure that we are part of retaining those languages and ensuring that they are preserved. That's a commitment that Labour has always had. As I said before, to some people maybe we didn't go far enough, but at least we were tracking along, and I think that we did all we could do. Now we need to take guidance from the community in terms of what else needs to happen moving forward. And I think out of the two major political parties, because it is election year, Labour is the one that can be relied on for this.
All right, well, we've got National still to come, so you'll have a chance. Pai mai.
I think that we don't really dwell on promises at the time because we are in serious trouble of losing our our languages, our Pasifika languages, which is the future of our younger generations. So I think it's action that we need to look at now. We need to all come together and work on this. And as for the Pasifika Education Plan, we've been working on that. And I think it's really evidence-based. It's really targeting. We've got those performance targets that really based on evidence on what's actually happening. And it's not really stopping us using our first languages. And it's not really stopping us doing what is best for our Pasifika students. It's really up to the schools, because you can have a plan full of so many goals, and yet it's up to the schools whether they implement those goals. So it's really the schools, it's the communities, and I know that the communities that of the schools that John has talked about, and even the other schools that we've been working with, they are coming in and they say we want our language, we want bilingual education in a school for our children, and it's really happening. And it's up to those principals and those schools. So I think with the government, you know, with whatever government that comes in force in the future, we really want them to look at these and make it permanent for our people.
Thank you.
To be successful.
Thank you. Seth?
Sandra, I think what we're calling for is a very difficult commodity to be able to get, and it's called political courage. 75 years ago, doctors knew that tobacco kills. It took 75 years for Tariana Turia to put a line in the sand and said, year 2025, New Zealand will be smoke-free. John, I have little hope that your issue, this is a matter of life and death. The evidence mounting on making sure that tobacco is known for what it is, you could fill this room with all the medical evidence that we have. And I use it as an example of just how far-fetched it would be to expect this to rise to the surface. But in making that, telling you that story, I want to congratulate Carmel for giving up smoking this year. In spite of all the best evidence in the world, well, she's a champion. If we could find a champion for Pacific languages, as we're found in Carmel for smoking, we are more like to have, because it requires political courage, and I think it's not an easy thing to be able to have, because that's the nature of the beast.
Thank you. Thank you, Seth. Good comments, as always. Lisieli.
Thank you, Sandra. I just want to say that the Pasifika Education Plan has a great vision. It wants the whole education system to work for Pasifika so that they do well for themselves, their families, their communities, Aotearoa, New Zealand, the Pacific region, and the world. And to get there needs all of us working together. And what I'd really like, and the plan talks about this, is that everyone in the education system places the Pasifika learner at the center of that world. And that means that, say, teachers have to change their practices to suit the learner. And the Pasifika learner comes in with families, communities, values, identities, languages. And so the challenge is, how do the education system in Aotearoa, New Zealand, make sure that the practices happening for those learners are actually building on what the learners come into the system with, and not necessarily like the old days where they were trying to change the Pasifika learner to suit their practices. That hasn't worked for so long, and therefore that's what the Pasifika Education Plan is about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And finally, Pista.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm almost tempted to give my 2 minutes to someone who hasn't spoken here, because one of the things I was here to do was to listen and hear ideas. And we've had quite a high-level academic discussion here, and I'm not an academic. I'm just, I'll end as I started. I'm a simple guy that was born in Samoa, came here, and I learnt a lot from my parents. I learned a lot in my church and in my community. We've got some clear differences politically, and you know, it's stark. Carmel set up her tent. She said that government can solve all this. I firmly believe they can't. Excuse me, you've had your go. You've had your go. Please, please, security. Bye-bye. But you know, the truth is, you know, the solutions to a lot of our problems lie in our communities. It lies in our kaumātua, our grandparents, our parents, the people that actually, you know, have those traditions. And we're losing them, but how do we save them? That's the question. And government is not going, you know, with all the goodwill and money in the world, government will not answer those questions for us. We've got to do it ourselves. But having said that, you know, there are huge funds available through government in the education space, in the health space, you know, in a number of spaces. And, you know, we're willing, and, you know, we've got dialogue with John and his group, and we want to know what you think. We may not always agree, but let's have that dialogue. You know, we want to see what the bill looks like. We want to see what the answers that you have and some of, but we've got to hear from more of our community. We've got to hear from mums and dads, uncles and aunties, because they're not the people that are in this discussion. And in that way, I'm a little bit disappointed, but, you know, give us a call and don't forget your party vote on November 26th.
Thank you. I think you're going to hear peseta from about 5,000 Pacific people very soon, next Thursday, who is showing their frustrations at it. But look, this topic's been around for a while. It's going to continue to be around, but we've got to talk about it. We've got to keep talking about it, and we've also got to keep putting it on the table. And looking at that horse and seeing which one we are going to follow and make sure that we continue pushing it, because we all know that if we don't, we're going to see what we're already seeing with 3 of our Pacific languages. So everybody, thank you for coming in tonight. I'm sorry we didn't get to a lot of your questions. It would have been really great. I can't believe we've run out of time already, but I do want to thank you. And to our panellists, we really appreciate your time and for coming in. And I'm sure if you do have your burning questions, they would love to hear them after this. So whakamaloa pito, thank you very much, whawhaitai, and thank you everybody for coming in. We give our panellists a warm clap. Rod, do we have any late things coming in?
The flow of tweets very much reflected the conversation here. But the ones about that personal commitment and came through strongly, but also very much the question of keeping language very fresh and alive. So there is that comment there about the role of new media, Facebook, Twitter and texting as a way of just making it part of everyday life.
Yeah, thank you, Rod. Yes, well thank you everybody, and I'm sure our panellists would love to hear your questions now. Thank you guys.
Hey, thanks, Sandra.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you.
We need a D mic.